Good afternoon. Welcome everyone to the 5th Annual Women in Entertainment Panel. Today's discussion is put on by the Five Towns College Business Club in celebration of Women's History Month. My name is Sydney Festa and I am the Vice President of the Business Club.
And my name is Bella Green, the President of the Business Club. This afternoon we are honored to spotlight the incredible achievements, insights, and stories from women that come from various fields of the entertainment industry. To begin, we are going to have each panelist introduce themselves, starting from left to right. Then afterwards, we will move on to our discussion questions.
All right, so my name is Star Fuentes. I'm a multimedia journalist. I also graduated here from Five Towns, and right now I'm working for Newsday, and I'm also a teacher teaching media arts for high school students in Brooklyn.
My name is Amanda Carey. I am also a Five Towns graduate. I work at JVC Broadcasting as a producer, and I am a part-time on-air host for Party 105.
I'm Jillian Wesson. I have a digital marketing agency, and I am the president of the Social Media Association, which is a national organization for people that do social media.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Silberman. I'm a singer-songwriter, record producer, mixer, engineer. Have a band and run an artist development record label called the Diamond Heart Production.
Okay, my first question is, if you can give one piece of advice to anyone entering your career, what would it be?
All right, probably to be fearless and to also just believe in yourself. I feel like that's really number one. It starts within. So being able to put yourself out there, especially if you're a journalist, and being able to believe in yourself and your ideas, your questions, and really honing in on your craft, starting very early as you can, making that portfolio and not being afraid to just put yourself out there.
Kind of the same thing. It's a little different working in radio, obviously, because everything's behind the scenes. So it's very male-dominated in radio industry. I am actually the only female producer. I've had my job taken from me. I've given to another man. So it's just never give up. Don't let it get you down. Just keep trying and keep fighting, and eventually you'll get to the points that you want to be at.
Yeah, when you're starting in your career, I think it's really important to get a little bit of diversity as far as what kind of experience you're getting. So try to work for a large corporation, try to work for a smaller business, try to work for, like just different types of experiences, because then you're going to find different processes or different ways people do things, and then you'll be able to find the way you think is right for you or where you fit in really well. So I would say try to get a lot of different experiences in the beginning, and then kind of figure out where you fit and where people appreciate you also.
Yeah, I would say following your heart and figuring out what you truly love, and don't give up and just stick to that, because in a career, you have to see it as a marathon, not a sprint, and it can be a very long journey. And I think the whole trick behind the whole thing is just to not give up and just to keep going and believe in yourself and try and learn as much as you can about what you love along the way.
Great, thank you. And for our second question, what mentality was needed for you to succeed and reach your goals?
Okay, so I always said this, especially when I was a student here at Five Towns, is whatever you put into the experience is what you're going to get out of it. So I believe that translates also into your work and your career. So having the mentality of, I'm going to put my best foot forward, I'm going to make the story be the best story that I could possibly make it, and doing those things to set yourself up for success in that moment is a great mentality to have. Whether you're in school, whether you're in your career, those are the things that help me push forward.
I agree. Being determined is definitely a very big part of it, and take the criticism don't take it personally. It's to help benefit you. It's not to make it worse. So I've been at my company 8 years, and I still get corrections, and they're like, hey, why don't you say something this way instead of this way? It's just don't take it personally, take it as it comes, because it will help you and it will make you better at your career.
Yeah. Those are awesome. Yeah, tenacity is definitely super important to keep going, even when it gets tough. And coming up with creative solutions is also very helpful. So when things get tough or when you feel like you don't know where to go next or something isn't going right, kind of thinking outside the box as to how you can solve that problem will get you through to the next way. I certainly didn't reach my goals because I did the same thing the same way over and over again. I reached my goals because I came across challenges and problems, and then I fixed them, and I pivoted, and I switched the way I was doing whatever it was that wasn't working. So when you come across challenges, don't give up. Try to find solutions to those challenges, or create new expectations if you can't fix them completely, and then keep on going.
I think if you pick something that you truly love, that is centered around what your heart and what your soul and passion really wants, it makes the difficulties or challenges much easier to persevere. And if you pick those things, I think finding a positive attitude surrounding the harder times will help you to continue to reach those goals and just help you continue forward.
My next question is, do you guys have any female role models in your industry? And if so, why are they and who are they?
Okay, yes, I do. So growing up, I would always watch Nora O'Donnell with my grandma, and I love her so much. I think the way that she presents herself, her questions, her interview, just love the way that she does interviews and conducts them. But on more of like a social media, Gen Z type of media interviewer, I love Kay Ingram. She's really amazing. She makes great like vertical style videos when it comes to journalism for NBC. And I also love Simone Boyce. She has a great energy, and I love when you're watching someone and they just exude like a light, and I love that. So I enjoy all three of those.
Mine is actually my boss. Her name is Anna. She is the program director for Party 105, La Fiesta, and In Vivo, which is one of JVC's news stations, and also now the program director for our Florida Spanish station. So she grew up in Puerto Rico. She came here. She worked at so many different places after doing college here and everything like that. She's proof that you can do anything when you put your mind to it. And when you walk in her office and you see all of her proclamations and awards, it makes you so excited to be working alongside her. And I'm so grateful. We joke around saying she's our radio mom. So I absolutely adore her, and I've looked up to her since I started.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of women actually in my industry, or who, there's definitely a lot of women that do social media, but women that own digital marketing agencies with employees and teams. I don't really know a lot of them, but for me, my role models were the women in the Rockville Center Chamber of Commerce. So I started in that chamber when I was very young, and these women, a lot of chambers of commerce, men are the ones that really run the show. They're the presidents. They're the ones that kind of make the shots or decisions. And in this chamber, the women are they're just so strong. They're so professional. They can do everything. I don't know how they do it sometimes. They have teams of employees, and then they give back to the community, and they give so much time to the community. So I've watched these women throughout the years, and I just think they're incredible, and I love watching them. I love learning from them and being part of such a wonderful group of people that not only do well in their careers, but also give back. So I love that.
Now, this is an interesting question. I feel like I had maybe early on, role models who were actually more men. And it wasn't until I was in my career that I'm like, oh yeah, Joan Jett started her own record label. Man, that's so cool. Or when I was younger, growing up listening to female 90s bands like, Courtney Love, Hole, a lot of grunge bands, and just seeing that, I think just the female artists who just were out there doing it, oftentimes just being out there doing it is showing people, especially females, that you can do that too. It wasn't later on that I kind of learned more about Sylvia Massey, who produced System of a Down, or I got more into learning about Linda Perry's career, and her career kind of like shaped as I was, growing and building mine. And also outside of music, I found Oprah to be extremely inspiring as not only a human being and a speaker, but just what she's done. So I found a lot of sources outside of kind of what I was doing, but a lot of men were really supportive of me, and I never thought of it as being a gender-centric thing. I just was like, I love this. I'm gonna do that, and that's so cool. There just happens to be not a lot of women doing some of these things. But the more we do, the more it shows it doesn't matter. It's just about doing what you love.
Absolutely. And what do you think are the most impressive qualities to be successful in your industry?
Okay, so for being a multimedia journalist, knowing how to ask questions, edit, film, record your own things, being able to be like an MMJ essentially. So that means voiceovers. So I would say, like for me, try your best to get into as many things and then see which one that you like, but also know how to do the other things too. So if there's an opportunity that comes along where they need someone for something, you already know how to do it. You put yourself in the best position possible because you put yourself out there and you know how to do that skill. So being able to adapt to the environment.
Definitely kind of the same for me, only it's more behind a microphone for me. So I do a lot of voicing of commercials. So specifically for that, make sure you know how to enunciate your words, make sure you don't stutter. If you do, you kind of have to separate your words a little bit in order to make it actually work. Knowing how to edit using Adobe Audition or whatever programs you choose to use. Don't be afraid, always be willing to just get out there and do it. And if something comes in and you get a script that's really weird, do it anyway. The scripts that I get sometimes, you look at them and go, why is this it? You can't be afraid. You just have to go and do it.
Yeah, confidence is definitely key, even if it's fake confidence. Sometimes you have to fake it a little bit and just pretend that you're confident until you actually become confident. And know that if you don't know the answer, you can try to find the answer. So just be confident that you can do it or figure it out, and go for it.
Yeah, I would definitely say, confidence, what she's saying is you won't know until you just try things, and in order to get better at things, you just have to consistently do it. I feel like I didn't become a great performer till I played hundreds of shows, and that's how I got my chops. And also I remember very vividly early on in my music career that I had multiple people tell me to pick one thing. Like, you want to do A&R, just pick that. You want to be an artist, pick Vanessa, you got to pick. And I really felt like that didn't connect with me. And also, we are not living in a luxurious world. At this point, artists and bands are brands, and it's all interchangeable. It's so important now that as an artist, that you understand the functionalities of filming yourself, understanding speaking, understanding writing, recording, multimedia, marketing, and also if you aren't gonna do these things, as they were saying early on, it's like understanding what the job entails so you can communicate to other people how to do the function. So the best thing you can do is give yourself knowledge and power to be able to do all these things. Educate yourselves.
Perfect. So have you ever felt like you were an outcast in your industry? And if so, how did you navigate it?
Okay, so I feel like being a journalist, there are a lot of females in the industry, but maybe looking at it from a different perspective where you might be hired as freelance or part-time and you work really hard and you think that you're the best and you know that you're doing amazing, but they won't hire you full-time. And there's other people that kind of go past you. So for my advice is just still believe in yourself, know your worth. Maybe it's time to just pivot a little bit, move to a different station, find yourself, ground yourself, and know that you just got to keep pushing and keep going, because it can get discouraging sometimes, even though your field might be female, but still getting that higher position can be hard for females. So just keep going.
You do. You just have to keep going. It does get hard. It makes you feel worthless sometimes. I mean, I did production when I first started, right after my internship at JVC, and then they were like, hey, I'm sorry, but we're giving it to this person instead. And then I had to fight my way into a station that had no females. I became the only female producer at the company, and then I switched to something else. It's just, you work your way from the bottom, and you just have to show them that this is what you want, and you're determined to make it happen. So don't give up, keep going, let it sink in, take the criticism, because in the end, it's gonna benefit you, and eventually, no matter how long, you'll get to where you wanna be if you keep fighting for it.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I started a business on Facebook and Twitter when that wasn't even used, and I was only 23 years old when I started my company, so I was doing it even before then at 21, 22, and a lot of people who I was networking with or meeting, they really just didn't understand this. This was something that little children did, you know, and I was kind of living in the future a little bit. And so what I did was, instead of trying to convince those people that I was right, because I knew I was, I created rooms where I brought in my own people who knew what I was doing was the right thing. So I started my own networking group of millennial entrepreneurs. At that time, we were in our early 20s, and we were all people who were starting law firms and starting marketing companies and starting entertainment businesses. And so I created a room of people, and now we have over 600 professionals in the network. And of course, we're no longer 20, now we're 30 and 40. But I created my own rooms. When people didn't understand digital marketing, I created my own company, and I did it the way that I knew it had to be done. And it's taken a long time for people to come around to the way that I knew was right, is right. But 12 years later, people are starting to realize that it is the right way to do things. And so sometimes you're living a little bit in the future, especially as younger people. You know what the trends are, you know what's coming, you know what's next. And sometimes you'll come across people who are a little bit stuck in their way. If you can't convince them, go to a different room, like go somewhere else, you know, or create your own room and with your people who appreciate and believe in you. So that's my little advice.
Yeah, I feel like in terms of an outcast, I mean, listen, at some point, all of us will be pointed against the grain in like the entertainment industry, whether you're an artist or a marketing person. And, you know, we'll kind of go against what maybe people might want us to do, but you have to listen again to your heart and your instincts. There's been many times where I've quit jobs. And, you know, when I had really good, amazing opportunities, but I really wanted to take a chance on myself. And sometimes it's a little tougher. And when you take a chance on your own business or yourself as an artist or a unique type of career, it might take a longer time. It might be a little bit harder, but I think the reward is more fulfilling, because essentially you're following your individual path and you're not being persuaded by other people and to fulfill their needs. We're not on this planet to make everybody else happy, you know, and that becomes, it can be hard, you know, feeling like an outcast or not like going with the flow of what everybody else might think you should do. So it takes, you know, a lot to just decide to listen to yourself. So pay attention to your instincts and your guts, and you know, really try and stick to what's happening internally for you as an individual.
Yeah. What strategies can we employ to ensure equal opportunities for women in the entertainment industry?
I think it starts off by letting us have a voice and like being in those rooms where decisions are being made and having us be in those positions, those higher up positions, and giving people a chance. So it starts off with companies and corporations, businesses hiring, you know, women and hiring them for those higher positions so that we can all get a little opportunity to share our ideas and what we can bring to the table as well.
I think it's kind of about marketing yourself. You know, you have to market yourself to show that you can do this job regardless of who came before you doing that job. Because for the most part, you're applying for something that somebody else already did. So just make sure you market yourself, you show them that you are capable, you can do this, and you're willing to improve and take on whatever they throw at you.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking on whatever people throw at you in the beginning, but then also commanding that respect, and that comes with that confidence. It comes with dressing well. I mean, you don't always have to wear a suit and tie, that's not necessary, but just making sure that you're commanding respect from the people who you want respect from. And if they respect you, they're going to put you in those rooms. And part of that respect is showing up professionally. Part of that respect is doing the job well. And part of that respect is just, even if you're not sure how to do the job yet, just keep showing up and trying, and people will appreciate that as well. Even if it's not perfect, people will appreciate you continuing to show up and continuing to do your best. So commanding respect, I think, is a big difference where people bring you in as opposed to not.
I think as like a company, a label owner, a producer, like kind of on the business side of things, choosing to work with women when I have the opportunity. I mean, I work with men and women, but personally in my company, I try as much as I can to support other women. Sydney's actually an intern for my company and label, and I'm really like, if I can always take time to help nurture, since we're talking about women in entertainment, I feel like it's my responsibility as a female to like help, and I do wherever I can. And I think just if you think about it as just being a female out there, just doing what you do, you're helping, you know. And I think it's, you know, it's not so divided. I think just as human beings, if you just do what you do and what you love, and you're out there, you're promoting and you're saying, hey, I'm doing this, but other people are seeing this and saying, oh, I can see that they're doing it, I could do it too. So that's kind of like a very positive thing that a lot of people don't think about necessarily.
Perfect. The next question I have is, what ways can women support and empower each other, both professionally and personally?
I think that happens every day. I feel like every day we're met with opportunities to support each other, you know, whether it be showing up to a panel like this, going to an event. I know local Chamber of Commerce, you know, there's always businesses that are ran by women there. So being able to network and follow each other on social media is a really big one. I'm sure that we all have family members that might have small businesses, so being able to share them and being able to pass that information along, so then when your friend has something, you can call up this person. It's all like word of mouth stuff. So being able to do it every day, maybe even once a day, could really make a big impact on your community.
I agree with Star. It's all about the connections you make, and whenever the opportunity presents itself to connect with anyone, not even just women, you have to take it, because otherwise you're not going to get to the point that you would like to be at.
Yeah, I mean, find your girlies, you know, like find your girl club, like people that are doing similar, find those women that are doing similar things that you were doing. Just like I went out and I tried to find young professionals who were in their 20s who were starting businesses. Same thing with women. A lot of the people I found were women. And so I had like a nice group of girlfriends that were all starting businesses, hiring people, like figuring it out. So same thing, like seek out those women. And if that's what you're looking for, and make friends, like just go to coffee, you know, if you're old enough, get a drink. So, you know, like just be in their presence and talk about things, and things will naturally come across where you're able to relate to each other, and business will also naturally come from that. I think the best business I get, or I'm referred or can refer, is from people I'm friends with. It's not random people that call me on the phone, which I will take as well, but the really good relationships are those people that you can call and talk to when things get hard or when things get tough or when you're in a difficult situation. And so my advice is like, get your girlies together and, you know, go get lunch and just chat about what's going on. And if you're in the same industry or you have the same interests, it's going to naturally come out that it's, you know, like all these different things. So, you know.
Yeah. What they said. I mean, it's I'm like, I can't add to that. It's literally about collaborating. You know, it's like, okay, you know, we need a marketing person. We're gonna hire her. You know, it's like, being creative, like finding ways to work with other women who are like in line with what you're doing.
All right, and is there any specific female-led project or projects or initiatives that you believe deserve more recognition?
Ooh, this is a great question. Okay. Well, I'm a part of this like organization called Curly Girls on Air, and they basically are like a women-led organization that just like advertises your journalist abilities. And sometimes you could get discriminated against in some, you know, like news stations for having curly hair, and that is really sad. And it's terrible. So this is an organization that kind of fights that and brings out the beauty. And then their like sister organization is Women on Air, and they're wonderful. They shout out women every day on social media and Facebook. So those two organizations are just so cool, and I love being a part of them. And I love seeing people that rock their T-shirts and merch, and I'm like, oh, I know what that is. I'm like, oh, I'm a part of that too. So yeah, shout out to them.
So I don't really have a specific project or anything, but I'm very big into reading and in the book community, and I try to support as many female authors as I can, not because I believe that their books are better than somebody else's, but because there's so much more support with them. Like yesterday, for instance, an author shared my personal reading Instagram just to try and help me get more followers, just because she thought that it was great, and I think that that's the way that you could just come together in a community is phenomenal.
I don't know if I have well, now I have yours. I'm taking on yours. Send me that information. Yeah, I like it because it takes a long time to do my hair in the morning. But so I love that. I don't know if I have like a specific one either. But any time you can support, you know, a woman in business or somebody that's going through the same struggles, especially eventually, you know, you end up having families come into play and kids come into play and expectations come into play. So you're trying to have a business but your expectations are also to take care of children or to do things in the house. So balancing those two things can become interesting. So, you know, talking about those kinds of things, coming up with solutions, or just complaining. Again, I can't tell you what a good complaining session does, you know, with somebody that really understands what you're going through. Sometimes that's really all you need. But I like that, and I definitely want more information about,
definitely. And it's because, you know, in this industry, sometimes when you have a certain type of look, you are more professional, but in actuality, like, no matter what kind of hair you have, no matter what you look like, you bring yourself, you present yourself, and you're professional, you should be getting those same opportunities. So, listen, your hair looks beautiful right now.
So does yours.
Thank you.
I love that. Let's see, a couple organizations that I like. There's Sound Girls, which a woman named Carrie started, who does monitors for Pearl Jam. I've been involved, like being the co-chapter with like a couple other girls, and it's just about like promoting women in live sounds and like engineers. I like moving the needle. I feel like that's also a really cool female-oriented engineer kind of organization, just to like show that there's a lot. But it's really funny to me that there are people who talk about the low percentage of women, though I'm like, man, I know so many women engineers, and maybe it's just because I'm a woman and happen to be an engineer, so I know a lot of other females. I'm like, there's so many. This is like, I think it's, you know, it's a balance between seeing the percentage, which is, you know, it is quite lower than the men, but engineering is also very analytical, maybe, you know, emotional type of, you know, mind thinking. Maybe that's why there's less women. I don't know, but I know plenty of women. So, anyways, more.
Or maybe we're just not being loud enough.
Well,
Maybe women are just not being as loud as some of the men.
That could be it. Yeah. Yeah. So we need to be louder.
Get louder. Let's get. What is it? Maybe I'm old now.
Let's get
loud.
I think we just started an organization.
Yeah, I like it.
In your your opinion, what's a good way to start networking?
Well, right now, getting Instagrams, whatever a person feels like is the best way to connect, whether that be, follow their newsletter on their website, whether that be connecting through Instagram, Facebook, or even LinkedIn is a great one too, or just showing up to their events and being a part of their community.
I think networking events are a really great way to go. I know that a lot of different radio stations, they try and put some on, and it allows local businesses and other businesses to come in. JVC actually has one coming up next week at the MacArthur Airport, and we have a whole bunch of different, on-air people coming in, some of the producers, some managers, salespeople. It helps because it gives you the opportunity to make a connection with another business that could potentially want you to advertise for them or do something else for them to get you further in your career.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many different types of networking available. There's, like the local chambers of commerce that help a particular town or community. There's nonprofits. You can get onto a board for a nonprofit for something that you're really interested in. There are awards for your industry. There's like award shows, or so if you attend that award show, you can, meet people in that industry that you might not meet elsewhere. It's actually, award shows and nonprofits are a great place to meet bigger like CEOs that you might not meet everywhere else, because they won't come to like a general networking event, but they will go to a nonprofit and they will go to an award show. So those are some places you can go. And then there's like women's networking groups, there's men's networking groups, there's age networking. So I would go online and just find like some networking opportunities, some lunches. Sometimes they're like sit-down meals, like a sit-down lunch, where you sit down and you tell people who you are. And then other times, you're up and it's kind of like a cocktail hour where you're walking around. So if you're not really comfortable walking up to somebody randomly, maybe start with the sit-down ones. And then as you get a little more comfortable, then you can go to the more networking ones. But there's tons of them out there. And I always say, find something, again, like with your people in your industry, and then find another one that's just good for your soul, that just makes you feel good. So.
Yeah, I mean, again, great answers here. I try and go to as much networking events as possible. I do everything as much as I can. I find for artists and bands, it's important to go to shows. If you are an artist or a songwriter, it's important to find bands and artists that you like and support them, because you'll find a legitimate, natural, real, authentic connection to not only other artists who are doing the same thing, but other people. That is something that, a lot of people talk about, network and go to shows. I highly recommend you do stuff that you like, because otherwise it's gonna feel like more unnatural. And if you pick stuff you like, it's gonna be more natural and less forced. Whereas, it's about asking questions and being curious about, what people do. That's a good starter if you're not good at starting conversations, socially with people. I do a lot of communication online too. I feel like we have this great ability to communicate online through social media. I feel like that's a really good marketing, obviously, and networking tool. So I feel like a combination of both has been extremely helpful for me, but I would highly recommend it to all of you. Yeah.
All right, and what is an upcoming project you're working on?
Okay, so aside from working with Newsday and doing Faces of Long Island, where we feature interesting people in our community, I'm working on my own mini documentary series in Brooklyn where it's called Down the Block, and I interview businesses that have been in business for 50 plus years, that's being ran by their great granddaughters or and it is so cool to see these businesses up and running still. I have the first episode, I interviewed a pizzeria called Luigi's in Brooklyn, and it's legendary. So many people have went there to do interviews. It's in an Adam Sandler movie. It's such a great pizza spot if you're ever in Park Slope in Brooklyn. But I'm excited to work on some more episodes on that one.
The only thing I'm really doing at work currently is we're trying to get me my on-air shift that we're working towards. So I have permission to have it, but I don't officially have it yet. But that's really the only thing. It's just the next step is now I'm going to be on air instead of just a producer.
I mean, I guess I'm in a little different area, but my big project is redoing our training and putting our training on video so that it's a little bit more comprehensive and exciting. So that's my big project. Woohoo!
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great.
Yay! Not as exciting.
No, that's great.
I'm like, oh my gosh, there's like so much stuff. Yeah, on the label side, you know, it's always about reworking structures for artists and then also a company as a business. So it's like structuring things, you know, and for any business owners out there or people who are considering, there's so many different ways of making income these days, you know, as an artist and through on the business side as like a company or a label owner. So I think it's about really figuring out these different streams of income and having the flexibility if you are following a unique path and not working for someone. As like, for example, a freelancer, if any of you are freelancers, you know, I do a variety of work. A couple projects is structuring, restructures in the label internally, and then I work with a bunch of artists from all over, two that are in Europe, one that's in France, particularly, or actually one that is in Ireland. And these are interesting artists because they're kind of from the ground up. One is on production and one is on the artist development front. And it's interesting seeing someone, you know, starting from the very beginning and putting out their first single and working an album and really just learning about being an artist and how to like market themselves. Whereas you see a project of an artist who's been around for a long time per se, and you're working on like developing the sound. So that's kind of just a light overview.
Perfect. Our last moderated question is, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I see myself continuing to tell people stories. I mean, that's what I love to do. And whether that be working for the company that I'm currently at right now, whether it be doing more of my, you know, freelance work, I just enjoy telling people stories, their businesses, their achievements, their hardships, just everything. And that's just what I love, article form, video form, whatever it might be.
In all honesty, I'm not entirely sure. It's kind of a wherever it takes me type of thing. As a producer, I'm willing to go literally anywhere. I've thought about transferring into doing audiobooks, whether producing or narrating them. Whatever opportunities present, I'm always willing to take.
I absolutely adore what I do. I love what I do. So honestly, like in 5 years, I just hope to be doing the same thing, just of course always improving. Just like, you know, redoing our training. Of course, it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but it just makes our company better. Over the years, we've had to add, you know, TikTok was a new platform, and now we're adding Reddit to what we do. And so just coming up with better ways of doing what we're doing for our clients, and bringing on more creativity, more talent, growing the team. So really, again, just I hope I'm still doing what I'm doing because I love it. Just bigger, better, more exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, just amplifying what I'm already doing, and I would really love to continue to give women a voice, especially, you know, with, you know, more general industry credibility with like the Recording Academy and like digging into like the Producer of the Year, like, and these other unique categories where women aren't showcased, and really trying to just get women out there so it's more of a general thing that it's common to see women in all sorts of fields, and it's not so undiversified as they might say. I don't want to get in trouble for saying that though.
So we are now going to move on to our audience questions section. So if someone in the studio audience wants to ask a question to one of our panelists, there is a mic up at the front if you wanted to ask.
Hi. If you could go back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice, what advice would you give?
Probably to just keep going, and it might seem sometimes things get a little difficult. Sometimes you might seem like things aren't working out, but you just got to keep on pushing and moving forward, and just keep on doing what it is that you came there to do. Because sometimes it's so easy to lose sight of the end goal. Sometimes your goals change, but if you have one particular goal in mind, tunnel vision, just keep on looking at it.
Mine would just be, instead of trying to major in English, to switch to what I do now earlier. That's really about it. I started out as an English major, decided I didn't want to study Shakespeare for the rest of my life, Googled random majors when I was transferring schools, and picked what I do, and fell in love, so.
Here you are.
Yeah.
I would have more confidence in myself. I think when I was starting, I was afraid that I was young and I was inexperienced, and I wasn't confident that I knew what I was talking about. And it took a lot of years for me to really see what other people were doing and see what I was doing was valuable. And so I think I undercharged myself in the beginning, and I started realizing that the only difference between their success and mine was that they were just charging more money. So like literally. So like be confident, especially if you're in an artistic field. Be confident in who you are and what you're doing. And yes, of course, you have to get experience, and there is that path. But don't think you're not as good as the next person next to you. So yeah, that's what I would tell my younger self. You've got this, girl. Charge more.
Yeah, I would probably say good job because, you know, to be honest, I left high school early. I got my GED, and actually I failed the first time, and I wasn't interested in certain things where I didn't fit into certain roles, I think, and I really early on knew what I wanted to do. So I mean, on that note, if there's something you want to do, don't wait for a rainy day or that thumbs up from someone else, you know. So to my younger self, I would say, good job.
Thanks. Are there any other questions?
How y'all doing? As a male in a diverse industry, I would like to your insight on how I can be more respectful and just more attentive to the females in my industry, because I'm in the music industry, so it's kind of predominated by male artists and stuff like that, and I see a lot of female artists kind of get either sexualized or put to the side. How can I be different and just give women a better light? That's my question.
Give them chances. Just make sure that you're always giving them an opportunity. You know, if they are trying to prove themselves to you, let them speak, let them do what they do best.
Yeah, and also making people comfortable. I feel like that goes for men or women. Just making sure that you're being respectful. And if you have to think twice about it, maybe don't say it or don't do it. So that's my biggest advice. Just respect, you know.
Yeah, I mean, limiting physical touch is maybe one way to start. But or of course, being careful about what you're saying. But you also don't have to wear white gloves. You can be fun. You can be yourself. And I guess find the right people for the right jobs, no matter who or what it is. So every person has a set of skills. They fit in a certain place for a certain reason or project or, whatever the case may be. And so find the right person for that position or for that skill or for that opportunity. And really try to discover what someone's strengths are and then give them an opportunity that fits that strength. Whether it's anybody at all, you should be looking to match human strength with an opportunity for them to shine. It's what is that saying? If you ask a fish to fly, they're always going to fail, right? Or a I don't know, whatever that saying is. So, make sure that you're giving your fish a chance to swim and you're giving your birds a chance to fly instead of the opposite. So that's, yeah.
That was a good analogy.
Thank you. Yeah, that was great. I gotta quote that.
What do you do?
I'm a rapper,
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah,
wow,
right.
you're so like thoughtful to even ask that.
and I'm a rapper and I'm a model. So in my industry, it's like very
So
diverse.
you kind of have to touch people.
Yeah, I have to be. Yeah, I have to
You
be
just
like
touch
super.
respectively.
I have to be like super.
Asking
ask,
first.
ask questions.
Yeah.
You can say, "Is it okay if I touch you here? Is it okay if I do this?"
Right.
And like asking is a good way, because in your field you're gonna have to touch
have to
people.
be
yeah,
around.
Consent.
there's
It
no-
goes
yeah,
back to
yeah,
consent.
yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
a woman's not going to want to touch you in a way you don't want to be touched.
Right.
So, respect that same boundary
Right.
for them.
Yeah, you seem like a very thoughtful person, so I would just say be yourself and ask.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
No
Appreciate you for coming as well. Thank you.
Is there any other audience questions?
Hello, my name is Will, or William. So you've given a lot of advice, but what's something that you still struggle with today that you are working on?
Okay, probably I would say giving myself a break. I'm big on editing my own projects and doing my own interviews. So when I'm not working like for Newsday or teaching, I'm doing my freelance work. So being able to just like put the laptop down and just like relax and stuff, that's something that I'm still like working on, giving me some me time.
Getting rid of my Long Island accent is a big one with some of the things that I have to say, especially when I have to voice things for down south. We naturally talk fast here, and they do not. So a lot of the times I'll get advice back and be like, hey, can you just read that way slower? Because they don't know what you said.
Time management is probably a big one. Trying to manage all the different things you have to do, and then when your day kind of goes off schedule, getting back on track. So I do a lot of calendaring. I put everything in a calendar. I do a lot of scheduling. I automate things as much as I can possibly automate things. So yeah, time management I think is always a struggle, and you just kind of gotta keep going, Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like balancing my personal life with my everything else just sometimes emerges because when you're running your own business or if you're an artist, or also in the studio, it's very long hours. And so I think, similar to what they've shared, sometimes it's really, you have to schedule, time to just experience real life in the midst of whatever you're doing. The other thing that I think is hard and challenging, sometimes I'm kind of what I would say like a Switzerland, a mediator between business folks and artists. And sometimes it's hard conversations. Sometimes I have to deliver harder news if a booking agent is letting go of an artist, or just being that communicator, if it's saying something's not working. But that's part of being also a business owner or a mentor, or also communicating in a way for an artist so they receive the information in a session as a producer, and then also making time for myself as an artist. It's just about a lot of balance. And also when you're running your own business, I do all the accounting, so there's a lot of detail, and there's a lot of detail for releases. So I think all these things are super important to think about just, before you get into any kind of anything that you do, is making sure that you really love it, because if I didn't love it, it would be really, really hard.
Cool, thanks guys.
We have time for one more audience question if anyone else wanted to go.
Hello, my name is Nathaniel. by the way, a lot of great stuff was said. I really took a lot of knowledge from it. My question is what led up to your positions?
Well, for me, it was I think a lot of different things. My freelance work, me being able to show companies what I could do when it came to making TV packages, editing, recording, interviewing, all of my own stuff. So coming out of 5 Towns, I had a lot of skills that I were really great in, and I just put that into myself, and I showed the community what I could do, and I got hired at the Melville Chamber of Commerce to do business stories, and I interviewed a lot of their local businesses, and then that turned into me working for News 12, and then it turned into me working for CBS and Newsday. So all of the different skills that you have, definitely really try your best to master them, because they're going to help you in the long run, like I said before. So yeah, just don't give up and just keep on going.
Mine started out as an internship, so I worked all our summer concerts completely for free. And then when my internship class was over, I told them that I refused to work for free. So they hired me. I automatically started working in the production department. Then I was just doing promotions. I went back. I became a board operator for LI News Radio. I became their head producer for LI News for about 5 years. And then this opportunity, the person who was doing it actually became the manager of the news station, and I walked in and said, I want this job. And I had 3 different people fighting for me to have it, because they didn't have to actually train me, because I already knew what I was doing. And that's how I ended up where I am. You just gotta, just the opportunities as they come, I tried to grab them.
Yeah, same. My social media wasn't an industry when I started. We kind of were creating it, so it was very brand new. So there was no one to kind of go to an internship with or for. A business that I was working for, they didn't have anybody doing their marketing, and I just thought that was more fun than working at a front desk of a hotel. So I just started doing it, and really just saying yes, and seeing that. And as I did it, I realized that I loved it. And then I wanted to do it for other people. And at the time, too, I was trying to move out of my parents' house. So other people said that they would pay me to do this. And I was like, wow, people are going to pay me to do this? And I love it. So that's sort of how it started to snowball. And that's how I got into it. And then now it's I just adore what I do. And I'm so happy it fell in my lap somehow.
A couple different ways. In the beginning, when I went to school, I learned that I could get internships. And so I interned at as many places as possible. And I got my first internship at Epitaph Records. And I remember the first day, the intern person said, just so you know, you won't get a job. And I was like, no problem, and I got a job. But through that and a lot of other job experiences, I got some pretty amazing opportunities. I would just say it never really ended up for me that I felt probably right working for companies or for other people in some regards. Though I had some amazing opportunities. I ended up being the in-house assistant engineer at the Foo Fighters studio, because I just happened to help out a friend who was producing a film, and they needed help as a PA, and I was in between jobs, and then was invited to work on music as an artist there, and then ended up becoming an in-house assistant engineer. I had a lot of just different job opportunities that happened because of that, because I just showed up and was willing to take smaller, underpaid things, or I took a front of house gig at a really big studio to meet people, answering phones after I had already worked at labels and knew what I was doing. And I was doing accounting for the manager, and it was not glamorous. But I ended up, 3 months in or 4 months in, meeting Dr. Luke. And I would just say, legitimately along the way, while working for other people, I gathered a lot of knowledge, and I really had a vision for wanting to help other artists and bands. And I created my record label and company back in 2013, 14. And I went on tour. I booked myself as an artist and lived on the road for 4 or 5 years, you know, playing 100, 200 shows a year. And so I urge all of you to, if you build it, they will come. Purely, like, it's just, you know, about building your own foundations.
Great. I mean, we all start from somewhere, so I'm glad you said all that.
I hope it's taken as encouragement.
It really does. Thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect. On behalf of myself and the Business Club, we would like to extend our sincere thanks to all of our panelists who took their time out of their busy schedules to join us in celebrating Women's History Month. Your insights were invaluable, and we truly are grateful for your participation.
We would also like to thank all the audience members who attended the event. Without your support, we would not be able to hold this annual panel. And lastly, we would like to give a special thanks to Mass Comm students for streaming and making the event and everything accessible to everyone. Your efforts are deeply appreciated.